I'm tired. I got a lot going on, guys. It's a big season of change right now, dude. Welcome back to Every Disney Movie Ever. My name is Jess, and I'm watching Every Disney Movie Ever. Today I'm going to be talking about The Last Warrior, Root of Evil.
Hello, it's Editing Jess, who you haven't seen in quite some time, especially in, like, this. I normally just type. But this is, like, my fourth time uploading this video. I had the digital copy of it because that's how I was watching it, and it got copyright claimed. I blurred it to the point of basically unrecognition, and it still got copyright claimed, which is actually bananas to me. I've never had that happen. You can't even tell what it is, but it still somehow was copyright claimed. And then pictures aren't working. So, this video will have no photographs of the film. I apologize profusely, or like two, because of what's working. And so I apologize profusely, but that's the reality of the situation. It kept getting copyright claimed, and I want my review to be able to be posted, so there's that.
The Last Warrior, Root of Evil is a 2021 Russian theatrical release about Ivan having a hard time finding his warrior power while the darkness is starting to take over. It is a sequel to The Last Warrior, which we've already covered. I'm going to read everything because it's all Russian names. Please bear with me. It is directed by Dmitriy Dyachenko, cinematography by Pasha Kapinos, editor Aleksandr Ivanov, music George Kalis, and it's written by Pavel, Danilov, Vasiliy, Kutsenko, Vitaliy, Shlyappo, Tudvasev, and Dmitriy. It is also kind of a bigger cast, so I'm going to read for that as well. It stars Viktor, Khorinyak as Ivan, Mila, Sivatskaya as Vasiliy, Ekaterina, that was Spanish, Vilkova as Varvara, Elena, Yakovleva as Baba Yaga, Elena, Valushkyna, or Kina as Galina, Kirill, Zaytsev as Finist, Garik Karlamov as Kolobak, and Konstantin Lavronenko as Koshi. The writers did continue the lore from the first one. It was filmed mostly in Krestovaya Hill. They began filming in June of 2020, and they did film this one and the third one simultaneously, which is why this one and the third one were able to come out in the same year. The cinematography was super similar to the first one. There were some really great shot choices. Nothing like super fancy and artistic, but there were some that I was like, hey, yo, great shot, best shot in the movie, this, that, stuff, etc. So when they say they continued the lore from the first one, they really, like, expanded it, because in the first one, Varvara is this guy that's taken over his wife, who's actually trying to take over, because she's, like, magic and stuff. In this one, it's revealed that Varvara was a little girl who got poisoned by the darkness, and this woman who came to try and, like, take her in because could tell she was an orphan or something, just a loose child, came to take her in, also got poisoned by the darkness, and they grew up to be, at the end of the last one, the twist cliffhanger was that Ivan's maid in the real world was Varvara's mother. And so, like, that was revealed in the last one, and so this one, Galina, is also tainted by the darkness and evil, and so they are trying to bring back this wizard who used to be a very kind, loving, generous wizard. Whatever he touched would come back to life, all that kind of stuff. And when he decided he wanted to become immortal to keep helping people, his apprentice decided to stop him, and that turned out to be Koichi, who's the guy in the first one that was all cut up because he was immortal, and then, like, you know, ends up sacrificing himself by destroying the stone at the end of the last one because he, you know, learned or whatever. Koichi had been this wizard's apprentice and was greedy and wanted to be immortal, and that's how, like, he killed that wizard and then became immortal and ruled, as we know from the first one. So in this one, being in the ground, the wizard got tainted by the darkness and started growing and expanding and wanting to take over, and he needs the sword to take over, in order to come back and be immortal or whatever, and he's like actual roots now, which is why it's called Root of Evil. And so basically, this movie is kind of about Ivan and kind of Vasiliy also struggling with their relationship because Ivan is feeling basically less than because his, warrior power hasn't come to fruition yet. It hasn't come out, even though he's, the rightful heir to the sword and whatever, that was built up in the last one. And so a lot of this movie, he feels very, less than because there's some big Finnist is this big, great warrior who can do everything, and he's worried that Vasiliy is looking at him instead of him, and so you have that going on, and then you have the darkness with Galina and Varvara trying to, take over, and they need the sword, and this, that, and the other, but then the sword loses power, etc., etc. So basically, it's the crew on a mission again to try and find out how they can destroy the darkness, and the only person that knows is Koichi, so they have to go to the land of the dead to get Koichi, and the story is very fun. It was easy to follow, even though it sounds like it wasn't easy to follow. It was easy to follow. I almost feel like I like this one better than the first one. I felt like this one was better at handling the, in the first one they were doing, a lot of, cringe humor, but, trying to be, and I was a little bit ugh, and the mixing of the two worlds, the modern world and this, fantasy world was not hitting for me, and the music was weird. This one, I think because I had seen the first one, I was just able to enjoy this one a lot more, so, and then a lot of the callbacks to the first one kind of kept me in, they brought back the giant that he had to serenade, and the giant still loves him, so the giant would, do stuff for him, or ogre, or whatever it is, made me, genuinely laugh. Vodanoi, I think Voidanoy, the fish, the swamp creature, he's still around, which is hysterical, and it has a thing with Baba Yaga, which is also really funny. I love that they bring Koichi back, and I like that Finnist and Kolobak got added. They were fun additions, so I had fun with this movie. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was really classic adventure and fantasy for some reason. I don't know. It just this was fun. The whole having to answer 3 questions to get to the land of the dead, and then he outsmarts him and asks so many questions that the guy asks questions, and then it's well, you asked me 3 questions, so we get to come in, right? And he deceives him. Classic stuff like that. It felt very fun to have. And then it's all revealed that, the power comes from Mother Earth, so, when he shoves the sword in the ground, because he's, frustrated, he's oh, here, just, the sword goes deeper into the ground and gets all its power back, and he's oh, and then at the end, when he's having a moment where he's, about to die, he has this conversation with his dead father, which was also a great reveal, such a good reveal, because when you leave the city, his dad's go, try to rescue, I'm gonna handle all this stuff, and then when he goes to the land of the dead to find Koichi, he runs into his dad, and that's how he finds out his dad is dead. So good. I was literally I should have seen this coming, but that was so excellent. What a great reveal. And I just really liked, we kind of got to focus more on Ivan having this turmoil of, it's a little campy, everything he's doing, and maybe doesn't dive as deep into what Ivan is feeling, but the scene where Ivan finds out his dad has died is so beautiful. Wow, what a great job to the guy who plays Ivan. I think it's Viktor, right? Viktor. Shout out to him for that. But anyway, I digress. The movie is very fun. Him finding out he gets his power from Mother Earth, and that being the moment that he gets his power, whatever, he's just stronger, was really cool. That was really nice. And his cleverness of taking the roots to a 5-story parking garage in the modern world, so he can't get to the ground. So good. And then it does set up for the third one very well, with the wizard was tainted by the darkness, meaning he was not the darkness, so there's still some kind of darkness. And it says, there's even darkness in Ivan, and so, I think the third one's probably going to deal with some kind of, Ivan might have a moment with the darkness and have to overcome it or something. I don't know, but it was fun. I actually really enjoyed this one. I feel like I enjoyed this one more than the first because I knew what to expect, and also the fact that, like, it still, like, pulled a ton from the first one. I thought that was fun. My favorite part's definitely going to be when he got his power. It just, you know, well, how is it not? It's just so exciting. You're waiting the whole movie for it because you're like, he's gonna get it. All this doubting and all this, like, maybe he doesn't have it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, he's gonna get it right when he needs it. And it happens, and it's a good payoff. The least favorite part is probably the hint that the darkness might get to Ivan. I hate that. I think I've gone on and on about brainwashing tropes and just, like, conveniently turning the hero evil. I just think it's so boring and so lame and so convenient. So the hint that might happen has me, like, big eye roll, like, no thanks. So that's probably my least favorite part. Recommend? I don't know. I mean, sure, I guess. The subtitles were actually so bad. Okay, maybe not actually. They weren't great, okay? The subtitles were a mess. The person who did the subtitles definitely doesn't understand pronouns. So there were all kinds of pronouns being thrown around that were like, wait, who are we talking about? And then they kept calling the prince the porch. He was the porch. And then the city and a couple other people that I think are supposed to be Bogarts or Broggerts or something were bloggers. They're like bloggers. So that was funny, and there were a couple others that were like, oh man, there was at the very end, in a credits, like mid-credits teaser, it was revealed that Galina's and Varvara, like, went on to have, like, you know, Galina had a husband and got pregnant, and she was gonna give birth to some kind of child. And at some point he's saying something at the bottom, it just goes, Disney presents Heroes something. Like, I don't even remember what it said, but it was so funny. Aubrey and I, like, lost it. Because it was just like, Disney presents Heroes. And it was like, Heroes something. And it was just like, well, that's not what they're saying. So, but you, like, the subtitle was good. I'm very grateful. Max, I would not have been able to watch this movie if Max had not found it and then found a subtitle file for it. So, super grateful to Max, and I understood what was happening, right? That's what matters. I was able to infer that the porch was the prince, and that all the pronouns were messed up, and who they were talking, you know, they kept calling Mother Earth him, which, like, that, whatever, you know, who cares? So, like, it could have been way, way worse, by all means. I was able to understand the movie and have a good time, and that's what counts. So recommend, that's up to you. If you want to have a ball seeing these, I'm excited to watch the third one. I'm kind of hyped to, like, finish this little trilogy of Russian films. Because before this, I had never seen anything Russian, I don't believe. I've seen, you know, obviously I've seen a lot of Bollywood movies, and then I've seen Korean stuff, I've seen Japanese stuff, Taiwanese stuff. Obviously I've seen French and Italian films because I went to film school. And I've seen a lot of British, like, television, you know, so it was exciting to jump into some Russian media. So, although we hate Putin, but that's fine. Anyway, that's it. My final rating is going to be 6. Dang, what should I do? I'm sure I did sword last time because that was such a big deal, so I'm not going to do the sword again. Maybe roots? 6 roots out of 10. Our total movie count is. Our parent death toll is. Correct count is the same. If you want to keep up with what movie I'm watching when, follow me on all socials to find out what movie I'm watching when. I put up videos every. Oh, wait, check out my websites. Gosh, I put up videos every Monday and Friday and sometimes Wednesday. Join Patreon. Got a tier starting at just $1. You get every video a week, early tiers above that. Daily review on the bonus content, etc. Buy merch. Merch is great. Merch is grand. Until next time, comment, subscribe, and not sure if your life you are, should you, and don't be the darkness about it. Then I'm realizing I forgot to do a cry count thing for playing with sharks. So, yikes.